Albee years ago, and I'm going to be honest with you, way back then I never thought he would ever make it this big. I'm not afraid to say that, but the man is unbelievable because he's not afraid to be himself, and he's totally whacked, but in a good way.
My name's John Landecker. I used to work as an air personality.
John Records Landecker is in the house. John Records Landecker.
And hi Art, how are you?
God, I grew up listening to this guy.
This will be Volo Air Check 178. I used to work as an air personality for a long time, and I'm in the business now working with Saul Foose and Associates, and we represent air talent. And I wasn't going to make a comment, but since this started turning towards the lack of talent that's out there, which I've heard at every single convention I've been to. I've been in radio for a long time related to it. This is the first year I've ever gone to conventions, and they all say exactly the same thing. Whether it's a talk radio convention or a top 40 CHR urban-leaning mix 97.7 10 in a row convention, they all say exactly the same thing. The consultants get up and say the same thing. The record companies say the same thing. Well, not at a talk convention, but the PDs say the same thing, and the talent says the same thing. I mean, it's the same thing at the country convention I went to a couple of years ago. You can just take the label, like somebody was talking about here, of country, or take the formatic label out and stick in any other formatic label, and what comes before it and after it is almost exactly the same thing. I help try to develop radio talent and try to put talent and radio stations together, and I'm sort of amazed at the amount of times I've heard from a program director who I've made contact with that we don't, quote unquote, deal with agents. Well, that's nice, except that we maybe have some talent that you might be interested in. So my suggestion would be that if you're really questioning this talent pool that's not available to you, that perhaps you put aside some of your prejudices to where the origin of this talent is coming from and deal with it on a talent basis, not on an ego, prejudicial basis. And one thing that's struck me since attending these conventions is, it started out talking about urban and top 40 and dealing with the black and the Hispanic and the white, and there's nothing but those white folks up on the panel. You know, something's wrong here in this equation. I was at a talk seminar at Museum of Broadcast Communications in Chicago the other night, and one of the guys from the Tribune Company gets up and talks about how local radio's got to be so important. Local radio, and the panel's talking about we got to be local, we got to be local, we got to be local. And then he goes, well, you know, the Tribune Company bought a station in Denver, and we had to compete and break even, so we just hired the Satellite Music Network. And I went, wait a minute, what's wrong with this picture? So that's basically all I got to say. One thing, though, I think doesn't change is that you were talking about record labels and who gets the record first and who doesn't get it in the urban. I don't think that's ever going to change. No matter, I may be wrong, but no matter, I mean, we're competitors here. You know what I mean? This isn't a love-in. And when I was working, that was what it was all about, man. I mean, the other station across the street, man, we kicked each other's butt and competed and tried to get the record first and, you know, bullshit to that record company that didn't give us the world premiere exclusive so we could whisper it over the middle in case somebody was going to tape it and play it back. I mean, and if you think some urban label's going to ditch their brothers to come over to you, you're crazy.
Yeah, this is another air talent question. This is not Geraldo. You'll get your turn. Okay, just relax. For Mr. Cruz from St. Louis, KBQ, and not to be flip, because I don't know if. Coming. What's that?
I knew this was coming. Go ahead.
Okay, well, I don't know how involved you were with the situation itself, but your station recently fired the morning guys, and in an odd twist, turned around and sued them. Is that still going on? The station is suing the morning hosts.
Suit has been filed, yes.
Suit has been filed. My question is, how are you going to get applicants for that opening? Because if I'm looking at that situation, I'm thinking, well, I could be sued. Firing, I've pretty much made a career out of. But going to a place where I could be sued.
Welcome to radio.
Huh? Well, yeah.
Welcome to radio.
But going to a place where I could be sued, St. Louis looks like Bucharest with an arch at this point.
Hold on a second. I got a couple of things to say. I got a funny feeling about half these PDs ought to come down here because there's a lot better ones out here from the questions I've heard. All I can say is that I've been involved with many of these radio stations up here, and number one, you've got these consultants, these purveyors of insecurity who don't even know how to walk into a radio station and in 5 minutes figure out what the hell is wrong with it. And they should be able to, but they want that one-year contract to sell you that happy pill. And your baby boomer general manager keeps buying into it and still sucks. And so you wonder, how come we all have a 4-point something? There's a guy in that panel up there who had a 30 share radio station. 2 guys up there, who now has a 6-share radio station. No wonder he doesn't listen to trades. Record companies today are selling more records and, well, at least as many records as they ever have without you. That's a crying shame. They used to need you. And you consultant robots who go around toting after the fact that you think you know what's going on, when the consultant is actually the one that's doing the work to suck the street dry. You should be embarrassed. You should fall off your chair. Where's the mentorship? Lisa, you were talking about Air Talent. And Jay, you were talking about Air Talent. You know, nourish them. Kick their ass. That's what mentors are for. Kick their ass until they go, God, no, and they cry on the way home. They'll come back a better disc jockey, you know? They don't want to be, you know, it's like, what is this? You know, these people, these little $1.98 disc jockeys, $1.68 programmers, and $1.25 general managers, and God, I don't know if I can even attach a price tag to a consultant these days. As far as the records go, you know, Mason, you had a good point on not getting a couple of records that you thought you might want to play. Well, what the hell's wrong with you to go out to the to the record store and buy it? That's what the consumers do.
That's what we did.
Well, then good. But don't bitch about it. These people out here, if you'd properly identify your format, there's a couple of stations up there that are saying they're CHR stations that are absolute, and you know what you are, coon stations. I'll tell you something. There's a lot of people out there that are looking for honesty, and Brian Burns said something that was really, really good. You don't need a bunch of contests. Be honest. Be entertaining. Go out there, suck the streets, be imaginative, have a good time, and that's the way it's always been. Where is it? This bland bullshit that's been going on with the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s. Hey, come on.
They're just going to turn to cable radio because they won't have to listen to the spots of the bullshit. So either entertain or go sell shoes.
You talk about mainstream, you talk about research, you talk about contests, you talk about, I don't play this, I don't play that, I don't play this. What do you play? What the hell do you play? Where's your attitude? Where in the world is your animation? Properly identify the radio station, the record company will know who you are. And they'll send you the records. You won't have to go out and buy your little CDs. Be nice to the people. As far as the record, I'm not in the record business, and I gave them a hard time too when I was programming. Be nice. Bill Gavin said it a long time ago. I know Dave Sholin will remember this. Be nice to the people who are paid to be your friend, and they'll be your friend. Know your market. Get down with the people. Get on the streets. If you have to go to the gay bars, the black bars, the rock bars, this, that, or the other, whatever it is, go there. What, are you embarrassed? There's some really talented people on that panel right there. Is it job security? The Postmaster General 2 years ago said he felt that he only expected 2 years job security. That's the Postmaster General. He figured that was about average. What are you guys looking for?
You know, the
You
worst
may
thing...
not agree with everything Mark says, but at least he's emotional about what we do, and that's probably one of the biggest crimes that's happened in this industry, is it's turned into research, and all the emotion has been sucked out of it.
And the medium is the message. If the medium is the message, then why don't we send a message that connects with the consumer? They demand it, with or without you.
The sad thing is, I agree with a lot of what Mark's got to say, and probably the only time I ever say that in my life. I'm very offended at what you called my radio station. I'll talk to you about that later. But I will say that you're absolutely right. One thing you said one time is a radio station should be sexy and have emotion and take chances. And maybe that's why you're not running a radio station right now. People are afraid to have you taking chances of being sexy. That could be the case.
It costs too much money.
Yeah, well, that could be the case. Maybe it does cost too much money. But that's, again, getting back to what I was saying before. It's the last time I'm going to say it. Is let's talk about programming. Let's talk about a radio station. How can you get ratings? How can you be sexy and be emotional and have the vibe? And that's, I think what Mark's trying to say right there.
Jay, you were talking about why you're not getting questions about, not just you, but about programming. And the big question that I have in all respect to everybody on the panel and programmers everywhere is, what kind of questions do you want to hear about 12 in a row? I mean, it's very commendable that you and Jefferson and a number of stations are doing Peace in the Street and other stuff, which used to be a staple of all top 40 radio. It was public affairs, and every station should be doing that. But but the stuff that involves programming isn't necessarily the records. It isn't necessarily public affairs. It's what has anybody done out there on the panel, and what's anybody got for ideas about how to entertain the audience, not the music. What other ingredients as far as entertainment are concerned? What are you putting in between the songs? And I'm not sure there's any real inspiring things there. I think JJ is doing more personality than a lot of stations right now. But there's not a lot of entertaining going on out there, and we wonder why we're losing our CHR shares. There's no entertainment, and that's why nobody's asking any questions, because nobody's got any. I don't think anybody's setting any examples.
Right. Companionship, that's all. During my programming days in the Jurassic era, can I use that word? That shit's copyrighted, right? My mentor, as he was at least to a couple of other people in this room, was Buzz Bennett. And I'm sure Buzz stole it, and it seems very simple, but the fact is that radio is a companion. If you're stuck in an elevator with 8 other passengers, right, and you're going to get to know these people pretty well over the course of an hour so before you slice each other's necks. The fact is that you're going to get to know each of these people a little bit, just like maybe the 8 or 10 major radio stations on the dial in your marketplace. Well, 1 or 2 of these passengers, or 1 or 2 of these radio stations, are going to become more special companions to you than the others. And that's what it's about. Are you going to become their companion, or are you just going to be one of the others?
The research
Come on,
never.
let's be honest, it happens all the time, doesn't
The
it?
research never says anything. All you get back are numbers. It's all interpretation. I know a lot of programmers who will get research back, and it's like, well, this is exactly what I thought. And you get someone else look at the same piece of research and say, no, you're totally wrong. And they fight over that. All you get back are numbers. I mean, you have to know your market and what's going on to do something with it. But, research never says anything.
Top 40, as any radio, as any consultant, as any programmer that's been around for a while, as Gordon McClendon would say, is very cyclical. And for what we perceive today as demise, who's to say tomorrow won't be success? But you've got 11 people up here that are very, very dedicated and very strong workers to our business, and for that, they're to be commended. Thank you very much.
I'd like to take this time